Tsongkapa, Chomden De, Deshin Shenpa, Trajapa, Yandapa, Sope, Sangi, Rivo, Dansha, Sudenpa, Niva, Shenpa, Jiten, Kempa, Kirpo, Kalo, Yuva, Lana, Nipa, Tata, Mina, Tempa, Sonje, Chomden, Pegawa, Shakya, Tuba, Chodo, Gyasu, Shio, Tsongpa, Chomden, Deshin, Shenpa, Trajapa, Yandapa, Sope, Sangi, Rivo, Dansha, Sudenpa, Niva, Shenpa, Jiten, Kempa, Kirpo, Kalo, Yuva, Lana, Nipa, Lada, Mina, Tempa, Sonje, Chomden, Pegawa, Shakya, Tuba, Chodo, Gyasu, Shio, Tsongpa, Chomden, Deshin, Shenpa, Trajapa, Yandapa, Sope, Sangi, Rivo, Dansha, Sudenpa, Niva, Shenpa, Jiten, Kempa, Kirpo, Kalo, Yuva, Lana, Nipa, Lada, Mina, Tempa, Sonje, Chomden, Pegawa, Shakya, Tuba, Chodo, Gyasu, Shio, Gatse, Gani, Tso, Jyodanche, Sachen, Nila, Gomba, Nambone, Wane, Jiten, Nila, Jojesu, Dese, Kiva, Jola, Josu, Nala, Goma, Jojo, Sozawa, Yeshe, Yaso, Seju, Nakodra, Prabha, Jiten, Soma, Mewa, Gombo, Joje, Jola, Josu, Senjo, Dema, Jume, Damreja, Senjo, Java, Jola, Josu, Dere, Juda, Sima, Zumanje, Yame, Kenchen, Jola, Josu, Gombo, Tuje, Jenema, Namche, Kempe, Tabo, Sana, Yate, Yasoje, Deshin, Shema, Josu, Lade, Deja, Java, Kere, Sode, Yoji, Jido, Jona, Shogyoba, Jido, Jola, Josu, Dene, Jore, Layane, Lapa, Lapa, Tune, Shenge, Gamba, Yende, Yende, Layan, Josu, Yewa, Jia, Medashi, Gewa, Buso, Sobaju, Rangi, Sene, Yosore, Bene, Sanje, Tebaye, Karma, Rangi, Mameda, Jema, Siva, Chuboda, Mela, Loda, Jinabu, Deshe, Chena, Debata, Sena, Dele, Tamche, Zibaye, Goba, Tone, Kenji, Kadete, Bada, Bada, Shive, Lantove, Sive, Sole, Doa, Doa, Do. Thus I have heard. At that time the Blessed One was dwelling in the royal domain of Vulture Peak Mountain, with a great gathering of monks and a great assembly of bodhisattvas. At that time the Blessed One was absorbed in the samadhi of the many aspects of phenomena called profound appearance. At the same time, noble Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva Mahasattva, looking at the practice of the profound perfection of wisdom, saw the five skandhas in their natural emptiness. Then, through the power of the Buddha, Venerable Shariputra said to the noble Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva Mahasattva, how should a son of a lineage train who wishes to follow the practice of the profound perfection of wisdom? Thus he spoke, and the noble Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva Mahasattva answered the Venerable Shariputra with these words. Shariputra, those men and women of a lineage who wish to follow the practice of the profound perfection of wisdom should look at it like this. The five skandhas should be seen purely in their natural emptiness. Form is empty, emptiness is form. Emptiness is not other than form. Form also is not other than emptiness. In the same way, feeling, recognition, compositional factors, and consciousness are empty. Shariputra, like this, all phenomena are emptiness, and having no characteristics, they are unborn and unceasing. They are not impure or pure, and they neither decrease nor increase. Therefore, Shariputra, in emptiness there is no form, no feeling, no recognition, no compositional factors, no consciousness, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no appearance, no sound, no smell, no taste, no sensation, no phenomena. There is no quality of sight, and so on, until no quality of mind and no quality of mental consciousness. There is no ignorance and no exhaustion of ignorance, and so on, up to no old age and death, and no exhaustion of old age and death. In the same way, there is no suffering, no origin, no ending, and no path, no wisdom, no attainment, and no non-attainment. Therefore, Shariputra, since there is no attainment, bodhisattvas rely on and abide by means of the profound perfection of wisdom. And since their minds have no obscurations, they have no fear. Transcending falsity, they attain nirvana. All the Buddhas who dwell in the three times have relied upon the perfection of wisdom, and they become true and complete Buddhas of unsurpassable, perfect, and complete enlightenment. Therefore, the mantra of the profound perfection of wisdom, the mantra of insight, the unsurpassed mantra, the unequaled mantra, a mantra which calms all suffering, should be known as truth, for it is not deceptive. The mantra of the perfection of wisdom is proclaimed. Teata Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhi Soha. Shariputra, this is how a Bodhisattva Mahasattva should train in the profound perfection of wisdom. Then the Blessed One arose from that samadhi and said to the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, noble Avalokiteshvara, that he has spoken well. Well done, O son of the lineage, it is so. O son of the lineage, since it is just so, the profound perfection of wisdom should be practiced just as you have taught, and the Tathagatas will also rejoice. When the Blessed One had said this, the Venerable Sharanmati Putra and noble Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva Mahasattva and the entire gathering, as well as worldly beings, gods, humans, asuras, and Gandharvas, rejoiced and praised the words of the Blessed One. Lama Dhamma Je Tsongkapa Yama Changseho Yamye Odru Drini Drini Tana Tara Sewe Shinye Degu Jishin Zishin Yudu Kale Banzi Kanda Chibe Zara Marim Yata Junya So Buma Buchi Tachi Yama Juchu Yanden So Kuta Jindo Nyamo Nimo Neju Charo Joseshi Mari Muse Nunya Yungu Shini Chuse Ravina Jene Tachi Sachu Tasun Yate Luzo Yase Tuvaku Shudwa Shudwa Shuni Yate Lalu Munse Jape Yangadu Om Aravatsanati Om Aravatsanati Om Aravatsanati Selen Chidu Chino Uzeki Dati Mun Marapsane Kada Tenju Junglo Tobayi Lodu Bodhi Mawasadu So Om Benza Pumi Om Wachen Seri Saji Om Benza Rege Ahu Shishari Koyoji Kore Usu Yoye Japori Ra Shadu Vato Lo Zambuni Mumalachu Shagami Ludangva Maya Maya Jen Yodena Shoro Jami Nyeda Jami Nyeda Rinpoche Ryo Vasanti Shite Joyeva Kore Lodo Koro Rinpoche Koro Rinpoche Samo Rinpoche Rinpo Rinpoche Labo Rinpoche Tancho Rinpoche Mabe Rinpoche Tenchen Goye Pompa Yema Chenmo Ma Luma Yama Nito Ma Dupu Ma Nasema Richa
Rinpoche do Chode Napa Gyewe Gyase Gyase Latami Gyejo Piso Sopa Masawa Mepa Saje Yido Yeda Jeje Sawa Dang Jepa Jebe Kade Lama Dangpa Nam Keba Duyang Bade Lama Dangpe Shena Keba Jebe Songje Sama Jebe Yendo Shenpa Bewa Ju Toje Doye Dodo Shesu Jene Janda So Jowa Ma Kyona Sanje Lanje La Tu Sewa Chenbe Kone Jinji La Do So So Je Je So se ju pa che la so wa de ya se ju pa che la so wa de ya so du de la ma do je chang ka la kan de shi ne su zo ne cho la de wo mo do zu ze be de je la ma na ma so wa de de je la ma na ma so wa de raja su la gu la ta ye me ke sa ta pa tu be jo ma jo se be je be ta ke se wa yi san se shi ye na ma so wa de san se shi ye na ma so wa de je wa kun tu yang ta la ma dang je me shi je pe la long shi jing sa da nam je ye te rang zu ne do je chang je ho pa nyu to shu do je chang je ho pa nyu to shu so je zhe lang lo je chu na wa cha chu pa tu da ni jiang su ji da ye chen je ji be so na gi do la pen she sang je ju pa shu so je chu dang so gi chu na ma cha chu pa tu da ni jiang su ji da ye chen je ji be so na gi do la pen she sang je ju pa shu so je chu dang so gi chu na ma cha chu pa tu da ni jiang su ji da ye chen je ji be so na gi do la pen she sang je ju pa shu 당연히 주시에 봐 최소기 주는 것들 이체된 인스 손에 로아 선생 로아 내가 다 저기 되어 있게 되는 능에 아니 최지 제가 인스 봐 최지 내가 인스
We are all here to engage in we are here to engage in the activities of the Dharma. As I myself, as a teacher who is giving the teachings, and you as a disciple is receiving the teachings. And here, so purpose of both teachings and receiving the teachings is to gain ultimate state of happiness for oneself and that of all other sentient beings.
인자는 좀 이제 근데 저는 한 수디서나 또 되거든요. 어떤 레벨이 제가 약간 졸라 dim비게 니 야로 쉬어버린 주겠지. 아니 라기 니 라당 아니 라당이 비슷한 나지 니 어찌를 선나 돈에 니 라니 소다 돈이지. 라니 조가 돈이지.
So there are two kinds of actions that we need to engage in. One actions pertaining to the three jewels, cultivating unfervent faith and devotions, and then other actions regarding sentient beings who are like ourselves. With this, by reflecting one's mind upon the actual nature of the existence of all other sentient beings, one tries to, transform or to modify one's way of thinking and one's way of life.
아니 되게 여러 이슈 라니 여러 이슈 보는 주에 당 아니 현진 어찌라서는 라니 야보당 거에 생 가투고 그래 살아서나 아니 장다 현니가 되게 여러리 용거에 된 제부 아니 대화되죠 아니 데이터라.
So while we are turning away from the negative deeds and turning towards positive deeds, and through development of one's own mind, or the transformation of one's own mind, is to gain some kind of result. The result is state of happiness, happiness for oneself and others.
so taji yebo chena rangi deba de rangi dugu ye mare ro tanda so mata ma shi be chena ni leka khan cheba de so so deba dugu tanda yin bi so ni chi yere da mune ye yu ngubi ne chi ta rangi ni de de mune le sana to so na rangi deba de rangi ma dugu so chi.
So if you really analyze carefully, or if you or if you were to undergo a critical scrutiny, we are not really being able to fulfill one's own wish. If we do not, look closely, whatever we do, our activities, our daily activities, seem to be fulfilling the wish of oneself. But in reality, our daily actions have no capability of fulfilling the wishes of ourselves and others.
Teda che geche te tse sabche sa so ngi deba ngaro ngi medu na sodu gore se ro.
So then one may ask the questions, this may not true, because then if I am the one who is unable to fulfill my own wish, then who will be there to really fulfill my wish?
아니 demba manjare chano deba chano gi du gore reda chano gi deba de chen chi chano ji ne du mu de kare chere.
That's right. You are the one who will be who will be actually fulfilling your own wish. But then, if you really think carefully, have you been really able to achieve some kind of result that is really satisfying out of your actions?
Teda reda re ro ina ngaro gi deba de ji saye to ya da ro ya da de da cha ya da to sin te so ngai du go ya sa na deba re ro.
So then, one thing that is true, fulfilling one's own wish regarding our daily needs, or the basic needs of such as shelter, food, drinks, clothing, and so forth. We are really, fulfilling that part of wish. So which is again, that is a partial fulfillment of one's wish.
Te mune chano gi la ya de re chano gi tanda gi dewa du go ye ngi deba tu go ye se de ni li de chota sa ji ma do ro. Chano gi deba tele ma wa ye li chota chi ko ma re ro. Chano le ten de dewa go ro jo me gi dewa go ro. De du ta la ni chano gi la ba de ro go me do se na la go yes.
So our way of fulfilling our wish and gaining the state of happiness is only on the level of on the physical level. We engage in all kind of actions, putting an effort to gain some kind of happiness, but our happiness is completely defined only on the physical levels. But if you really, look very carefully, you will find beyond this happiness, or rather it is a mental happiness, and that is a happiness, what we call the everlasting happiness, unchanging happiness, that can be achieved by oneself. But we are unable to achieve that level because we are not on the path that really leads oneself to achievement of lasting and ultimate state of happiness.
아버도 맞아 뒤술 봐 깨치시와 이나 저러 이 대리 찍고 이게 전달을 내가 제대로 맞아 손님 편집이 전달을 내가 지금
So again, if you speak about the time, the way we actually engage in the activities to fulfill one's wish, and we are doing in which that fulfillment, our way of actions that fulfill one's wish is only to fulfill the wish of today alone. So we're not being able to, engage in actions that fulfill one's wish of tomorrow.
chunga tujadan kanajan lawyero. Yes, Terry Legacy, the Dawajima, Lacha Limited, Legacy Changana, the Chimadi Salabra.
We might say that's not true because the work that I'm doing today will achieve, as a result of today's work, I will be, receiving my, payment or my salary in my next month or next week. That's true again.
That Terin is on the Chiwa Doja Chanara. Terin is on the Ruby Sanjay Copan Tabala, Mataji about the Charan, Dongangela Chobachaina, to Terichico Legacy and Dead Ures. Terin is on the law, and the Sanjay Copan Matabado to make it and Roeras. And do you do that? China shows on the chip, you should talk to G. Dandamato, Legacy Chagoman. I'm not Terin La Page, choose G. Dandamato.
If we were, look at ourselves, we need to understand that our existence is a very, it's a very sustained phenomena, because we're speaking about from this life until the state of enlightenment. It's a very long time. But if you really look at yourself, the way we engage in the actions to fulfill one's wish, it is only equivalent to fulfilling the wish of this today and on. We're not really, engaging in the actions, the fulfillment of the wish of the future.
That you say each other, Tonju, the Page Tango, Tanda, Chan, Tanda Jin, Pije, Zuzusa Mingus on Pichua, Chunju Shuji, Tanda Judo. Carson and Ranila, Tanda Chibodre, Nipa, Yuri, Tisur Bodre, Nipa, Nipa, the Pije Chunju Shuji Latani, no matter the region wants it dead.
So we are actually, really focusing we're really, aiming towards a very short term, and as a result of aiming towards short term and engaging in the actions, and we can't really pinpoint what kind of result that we may have gotten out of it. But yet at the same time, we do have all of us have this potential to focus on the long term and to gain a longer lasting happiness as a result.
You see, Jenna Page, Tamabaji, the which hero, Chilla Devanio to a Devian Lande. And Rani Devamate, Netayu Sanjatangilla, need to drink it, Chibachin to do to a Jenny, also Lama no 10 years and 10 years, so Lambachi areas and areas.
We do have a path upon which one can make one's journey, unmistaken path. And we do have a potential to aiming towards aiming to a long-term, result.
In 2 years, long temple Kaza, and it's semi jigger, Rangi, Nui, semi tonesiana, Dama Zebi, number 2 on which any answer he gave in the long change, but not to such areas.
So this is the teacher, the sublime teacher, Buddha Shakyamuni, who taught us, who instructed us the path upon which one can, embark and gain the everlasting happiness of self and other beings.
Controls the carriers and an uncommon to the helm of a checkmate, or control your long day into Matutanda, Laban Yuris. The Driggy temple with the Rangin danger Nangala, make a conche to among us.
So then we're speaking about these jewels, 3 jewels. and various three jewels, we should not, we do not need to pinpoint the three jewels in the space. But if you really reflect and really think carefully, the three jewels can be found in the presence of oneself. Three jewels can be found before oneself. So then, with this motivations, one need to visualize Buddha Shakyamuni, Buddha Shakyamuni with the complete feature of enlightened body in front of oneself at the level of one's forehead. And let's meditate on Buddha Shakyamuni for 5 minutes.
저기 근데 딱 경험해서 그래. 또 투는 거 민원 제시가 많더라. 아니 저런 이제 강제에 제스성이 선제 대다양 내요. 아니 대나게 지로 제외 돈은 로봇 지제 토해지 뭐냐면 배자 제기 있죠. 소소한 가로 생유로 좋아.
So with this motivations, which is the appropriate motivations, conjoining with the visualization of Buddha Shakyamuni, one then try to cultivate an altruistic intention by making a commitment that just as Buddha Shakyamuni, you have extended your compassion towards all other beings. So may I too be able to extend this compassion and love towards all other beings henceforth. We all may feel the same if we look at our current nature of life or current existence, or it is almost, we feel almost impossible for one to be able to accomplish this goal, to be able to extend compassion towards all other beings at this point. So why we are not having such a courage to have a compassion towards all other beings, loving compassion towards all other beings? If you reflect very carefully towards oneself, of one's own, one's own mode of existence of one's mind, from the beginning of this time up until now, our mind has remained under the control, under the domination of delusions or the defilements. As a result, one's mind has been never stabilized, and there's no stability of one's mind, and never been able to achieve mind that is free from distractions. It is because of the mind being remained under the control of defilements. And then if you really, look at our own physical condition, we will not be able to maintain, motionless physical gestures even for 5 minutes. So this is how the mode of existence of our mind and our body that cannot really remain in one place with motionless. So then one could ask the questions, one could arrive at the point that to ask the question to oneself. So most of the great practitioners, accomplished practitioners have said that the possibility of achieving the ultimate state of happiness of both body and mind. So do I have this capability to really achieve ultimate state of happiness of body and mind? So if you reflect carefully, analyze carefully of oneself, then at the final analysis, you will be able to find the possibility of transforming or changing or modifying one's behavior and one's own state of mind. And so since there is a possibility of transforming one's mind and behaviors, physical behavior and so forth, then one need to engage in the actions that really serves as a method or skillful means to bringing about change within one's mind and body.
다 저기 주부담 소지 되는 디셰스의 소나면 내가 인자네 로 자연 건전의 제사마리 상이지 인나야서 디셰 소나면 내가 인자 아니 로 자면 제게 상이 된데 돼요 다 나와지 아니 지 나오는 제가 아니 샤고 주의 나오는 제가 내가 지 나오는 제가 되는 용어를 써도 저기 다르게 생각을 쳐봐줘야 하는데 지금 강조지 저가 있는 상추센터지를 쳐봐줘야 하는 배딩 엔터지 칼레지 전으로 잘지 아유 상인들지 쳐봐요. 네, 뉴스 손에만 내가 인자네. 다와지다 하다지 뢰제 줘야 네, 용거를 써도.
So we might feel that that spiritual realizations such as achievement of bodhicitta and so forth cannot be achieved even meditating for 100 years. But if you really put an effort, rigorous effort, and practice diligently, you will be able to find, as a result of one's practice, the change is taking place within one's heart and emotions, even within the 10 days or a month and so forth.
당가서 뭐 멋이는 신나로 네 카르나는 로네 sembatel 뢰뢰다 sembatel 대지다 sembatel 따위용 도와지 배자체로 제세선으로.
However, it is important for all of us to really turn inward, turn towards oneself and reflect one's own mind, and to seek a state of happiness, the mental happiness, and by what means that one can really achieve mental happiness, by what means one can really bring about a change or the transformation of one's own mind.
아니 인자네 되게 더 많은 거 지금 주고래요. 더 많은 거 이제 달라니 아니 랑tempo 보지게 더 tempe 더 지len 주고래마도 지로 개개만 세는 건조라지 맞죠. 잘라로 이제 한번 소리잖아요. 요거 말이로. 인자네 주고는 주체디 시고 시발라 tö고로. 아니 tö발라 땡해질래 되는 tö고로.
So therefore, to achieve and to bring about a genuine transformation of one's own mind and physical gesture, it is important to rely upon unmistaken methods. Unmistaken methods. So in order to rely upon the unmistaken method, and there needs to be a person, in other words, the excellent person, faultless person, who actually give you the instructions of unmistaken methods, and then in order to really rely upon this unmistaken methods, one needs to rely upon an individual who really teaches you the process of achievement, a process of reliance of this unmistaken method.
된뒤지 강선바샤이 취여생으로 강투바샤이 취여는 이 상주란제래봐. 이 상주란제래봐 이 자이사지제. 와. 주변쯤 때문에 제가 비쳐. 나가라 가지고서 취여. 처원이 돈데 비출은 이 시제 다시 이름바. 이 남방은 좀 남아 지대 이름바 자이사지제. 대인지 소소하지.
So therefore, we are taking our time and taking this opportunity to achieve, to rely upon unmistaken method that is shown in the great deities on the stages of the path to enlightenment, Lam Rim. So, in order to rely on this method, and first of all, there are 4 headings or the outlines one need to important to know about. The first heading is the greatness of the authors given in order to show that the teachings have immaculate souls. Then the second is the greatness of the Dharma given to increase one's faith in instructions. And the third is the right way to teach and listen to the Dharma with these 2 greatness. And the fourth is the sequence in which the disciples are to be taught the actual instructions.
아니 나 지발니 아니 나저 자와 신이 되면서 나 때는 로지 다자이를 많이 지 다른 동버리 사지 다 때는 로지 다자이를 발니 대의되는 님벌이 비시 그와나 님벌 제단이 비치니 동버리 사지 다 동버리 사세 다지 님벌 제단이 비 동벌이 니래요 동버리 말에 나지 나자는 게 받지 받는 님벌이 뭐지 다 동버리 사 다 님벌이 지금은 송리 지금 중요한 대모에 나지를 많이 하서는지 지금 챔피언 지금은 나 대모에 나지를 많이 하서는지 니 지금 챔피언 나지를 많이 하서는지 다 동벌을 송리 지금 중요한 삼바지 뭐 계집이 되려고 또 가고 하지 다 동벌은 니래 대의되는 말에 지대시마대 줄로 되거든 지대시마대 터대 많이 다 동벌이잖아 다 지대시마대 터대 받다라 니 아니 델레 탄지지 자와 이치지 되고 말에 템벌은 주비 고담바 장롱으로 와서 델레 탄지지 자와 이치지 되고 제바니 다 도모지 사지 다 델레 자와 이치지 되고 제바다 송리 연제 지시바다 제다시바 선년 조도 제다시리 뭐하지 대이 송이 논에 타마 니 선년 조도 제다 제거래 생이 된 거라고 저희 사지를 제작으로 렌제시비 카툴라이니 렌제 게디 노도는 조도데 간에 조거래 스케치디시죠.
So we are under the headings of the law of cause and effect, or karma. So in the karmas, there are several, again, speaking about the karma, there are several headings or the outlines, the general explanation and the particular explanation of the karma, and having understood both general and in a particular karmic process, then how one can really engage in the positive deeds and abandon the negative deeds. And so at this particular point, we are rich on the chapter of how one can really engage in positive deeds and abandon negative deeds by reflecting one's mind upon the karma of in particular karma in particular.
먼저 예전에 시에는 변한 랑린 생인데 간주지어서는 안 돼도 그게 전문에서 지 사터지에도 콤바지에도 근데 그게 전문에서 변도 딘드노로라 변한 좀 세세다 이소나 전문에서 이게 차진 차서 변한 콤바지 지고에나 콤바지에 수시다 더 베트 장도 비서죠 랑린 첨몰 창조 요소 줘봐 딘드 여비서죠 여거만 세lem바 동분이 받대 드리셔요 인자는 봐 드리는 드리추주 미시어 깨게 맹엔티지 라네 동엔지나 드리비다고지
This is very as the practice of the Lam Rim, because it's a very unique quality that you could find in the Lam Rim practice, because it's almost like it gives you a map how one can really build a building. Not only just gathering the resources of the building, equipments of the building, but rather it gives you which needs in the earlier stage of the building and at the middling stage of the building and then the final stage of the buildings. All the resources and equipments are divided and given you in a very sequential orders. That's very easy for one to actually follow that.
지견자 질 배자와이나 쳔데기 대지네 조아시메 대지 조아시마네 타바네 타지 침배 바라기 로 차송은 로사기 니 마손나 가를 지제기로와 잘라도데 차신 요소도 참바마세 장카 동거니 가서네 제셔요로.
So it is not only giving you the resources, but that the resources are given in a very, in a consistent manner, very consistent manner, right from this life to the next life, and achievement of the fortunate rebirth to the liberations, from the liberation all the way to the state of enlightenment. It's given a very, consistent way. So now let's go through the text, Lam Rim text itself. 대단히 샤베 매매도 비교됐어. 마샤는 대회 괜찮을 거를 정말 동안 연구를 지었을 때 말이야.
내신은 내년 연구를 싫어서는 대단히 비바 총내지 내려.
대단히 어떻게 버리는다.
배경같이
기억 잘하니 동의 기타를 보면 되게 기억을 소스 좋아. 어디 버도 소리는.
비바 총내에서 내려 가는지 되나.
대이. 대단히 어디 버리. 근데 기억 제와 저기 뭐라. 레인스 메시아 와서 동의 타입은 뭐 되게 기억을 소스 좋아. 어디 이 잠시야.
그냥 되게 그 텐션이 되는 게 소스 텐션. 이게 텐션 되는 줄 알았어. 그러면도 괜찮은 데가 신기 줘가지고 미시면서 되는 게 주의해서 나오죠. 개발시면 변해서 저도 안에 된 이제 내 말로 일단 이전 샤바되는 민족 되는데
신경 뒤다 이제. 아니면 저기
다라 아니 걔는 다라로 주면 돼. 얘가 로사 텐션 되지 않겠어. 저면도 딱 맞을 때니다. 아니 가서가 저기 개체시에서 가시에서는 도바세 그러. 아니 돌레로 도 가시래니 디바데 제는 말이 샤베 다여를 송선도 아니 가시라니 샤베 다나요. 아니 녀와들 제거 봐송도 가시는 뭐 나왔던데 세도세도 지지를 넘게 작은 말이에요. 들리기 때문에 집이고 가르치게 되었어요.
So we have reached at the point of, clearing one's doubt. In other words, with regard to the karma, karma and the consequence of the karma, by comparing the explanation found in a different sutra. In the one sutra, it says mentioned that the negative karma can be eradicated and preventing its consequences, its consequences or its result or the effect. And then another sutra has mentioned that even though you may have engaged in the confession practice and purified the practice, negative karma, you will still take a rebirth within the lower realms and so forth. And then also another sutra has mentioned that once negative karma, the result of one's negative karma can be substituted by having a slight physical uncomfort. In other words, had a very slight headache and so forth, by means of engaging in, it is because of the force of one's practice of confession practice, of purification practice, and so forth. So you find the different ways in which experiencing the result of negative karma as a result of one's purification practice.
다른 것도 사서도 되려도 근데 제법 배신 생인데 예 메돈 단제세 때 정도 로세샤스 데세나야 아니 최대 신의 전부 전에 아니 개파 Jata Momboji line, deeper the Tata Jendo, Tanda Tamandu, Nyawan Chiba Matsu Kangi Shuji, the Karacheres, and deeper the Nepote Matu Beres, and indicated the Redoa. Something.
Gibu Kangi.
Jebo Beijing City, Jebo Beijing, and Meton Danzi City, Jondo. The Jomba and deeper you have it under a shooting chamber, shooting chamber in Nima, the Tabareshi, the Chubi Jana, and enjoy Yawan and Jenny deeper, but the Donga Pada members in Yawash house, the Karacheres. Shama Tuba, Shaba turned the Majiveres.
So, so here, we're dealing with this, the sutras, the quotation that is found in one of the sutras by saying that the king, Ajata Sutru, have killed, engaged in the actions of killing, and as a result, though he has been engaged in intense purification practice, he hasn't been able to purify his negative deeds. Rather, he has to undergo a great amount of suffering within the lower realms and hell realms for many very, very long durations and so forth.
Thank you, Lovinda. Take it under money, because it's also in Malo and Dimas. Loa Teta in Jan, Nishaba Teme to Majete City, Shaba Karitame, but Jogo Maria Selasona, Loa. Michi said the Lord Jata Mombola, and Shaba Chesona, Tanda Shaba Tamana, Shaba Teme Baroas, Mares, Karichere Selasona, Malo.
So here, let's go through this the text. It is the second paragraph of the 257. So nonetheless, the confession is not senseless. So why the confession is not senseless? So then we will go through the reading of the next lines.
Teta in Shaba to me the Majete as Mashana Tejan Chewatan Jinri, Dongenyogu, Shoro.
So then, nonetheless, confession is not senseless. For if you do not confess sins, you will experience suffering that are greater and of longer duration than if you had confessed them.
And Shadon Janhama member Taba in the Church answer Shabe, Church Tombone Niebe Magubi Tabatan Shane Tabani Chepachete Bena Shansale as on the floor.
So then let's go to the next paragraph by saying that through confession and restraint, you can purify yourself of sins without any reminder. Reminder. However, there is a vast difference between the purity of having never been tarnished by a fault from the beginning and the purity attained through confession of the fault. For example, the Bodhisattva's level says.
Ben Matona Ben Dora, Ben the Dipashan at Hayanada, Dipachana Digoa, Salawa in Arawa, then Diguma is Dipa Yunishan and Tapi Mateda, Dipa Tomani Dipa Majene, Tabani, the Chimpe.
So one may ask, and since there is a confession in every negative deed, so there's a confession, there's a purification practice, then it should be, it's not a very big deal to engage in negative deeds. So then one should not have this way of thinking, because there's a vast difference between someone who has not accumulated negative deeds, someone who have not done the negative deeds, and someone who has done the negative deeds and engaged in the purification practice. That's a vast difference between the two.
I want to medal Karatus and the Bena Shansale as well. Zadon Shumala, Shanse Damba Lambi, as a Shuju Ni Jans, Setela Satombo Tomisiba Sumba Dabo was on the day.
So then here it says, the Bodhisattva's level says, you can redress the occurrence of a root infraction through adopting the Bodhisattva's vow. However, it will be impossible to attain the first Bodhisattva's level in this lifetime.
Tenete pesa songarwa penarwa. Pena nganda goji tanda ri chajawa ina nga pena chendel satombo thosiba jina ro. Nye shangchu sembe damba lena nga shangchu sembe dambi zadong jong ni jong ne shada jana chendel thok mesiba zosha ro. Yesi ko zadong de jong mena nga chendel dagarang satombo thos chogo. Tenre yin kadwa.
So if you look at this, there's a big difference. If you haven't let your root, the root infections, go through great degenerations, then you have a capability of achieving the first Bodhisattva's bhumi within this lifetime. So it is because of this occurrence of the root infractions, although that you have engaged in the purification practice, you have purified the negative deeds with regard to one's the occurrence of the root infractions, but it prevented you from achieving a first Bodhisattva's bhumi, the first Bodhisattva's level within this lifetime. So you see a difference. The one you have actually done a negative deeds and confessed and purified, and one that has never been engaged in negative deeds. There's a big difference between the two.
대체와 제가 그것도 지금 다 밥이 파란도 시기 말이 세선으로 제가 가족이 조용히 찾는 나가르로 나만의 소수조 나니 손하다 좀 아니 돈하고는 물러나서도 밥이 나로 이 밥도 소수조이 이미 따서 될 나가요.
So there are five paths, the spiritual path. The two are what we call the ordinary path, and the three are what we call the noble path. The ordinary paths are what we call the path of accumulation, and path of preparations are said to be the ordinary path. And the noble path, the Arya path, is the path of seeing, path of meditation, and path of normal learning. So those are the five bhumis, or the five paths, spiritual paths.
아마도 개바 첨보로 제자체서나 개바 첨비 랑라 슈무주 가다서는 상주 생지를 제면제다. 개바 첨비 파파 참자 가다르서나 로 상주 생기 생비도는 돈이 무슨 도 없다.
So now,
사자니
if you look at those five paths based on the Mahayana system, how can we really, declare oneself as they entered into the path, the Mahayana path? It's determined by whether or not one have generated bodhicitta or the mind of enlightenment, and how can we really, distinguish ourselves from being Arya beings here? It's again determined by whether or not one have achieved wisdom, understanding a direct realization of emptiness in conjunction with the cultivation of bodhicitta.
맞아 백개나 통화세서는 인도 호주제로 배나 통화세서는 가서 미지수 통화라 그래. 이지 셰바기 돈이 무슨도 가디 통화서나 대바서 뭐 가능이 파파 땡키 타더라. 통화.
So in Tibetan term for the path of seeing is called Tonglam, which is a path that sees something. It's Tonglam is when you look at things through your eye consciousness, you see something very clearly in front of yourself as an object and whatsoever. And so this, when you achieve this first bhumi, or the first the path of seeing, your mental consciousness can see directly, without any obscurations, the ultimate nature of reality, without it is a direct realizations through mental consciousness. In other words, an intuitive realization of the emptiness of mental consciousness.
인두기 랑 대연 최대라 아니 가서 이쪽에서 제 최고건조 대줄에 대비 가서 될 인두건조 첫 번째 사이 상상 파비게 인두건조.
So this kind of mental quality, who possess this kind of mental quality, that mental quality is said to be the jewel dharma, and then the individual who possess this quality is said to be the jewel sangha.
됐지. 대지 대게요. 사전 최종주지 차서 제지. 나는 되는 말인데 답고 오지. 단 넘버 탑아 뒤게 돌레스. 이제 좀 집어내서 만 놓으셔. 점된데서 게데라라시기 뒤비 주비 온기 추어방원 대답을 네 지바 전화서 점된데서 대이체 내년에 제다 타원 저러 대게지 수와 당스 점된데 진짜비 전에 저봐라 대게지 가수도 잠배 게데로 된지 봐더니 지 진에서 뒤순데 니발라 니바 샤네 대요도 상원觉得 대신체 뇨나 개바쭈 저바토바 저로서 로 대로 잘해
So let's go through the text again here. Further, the sutra gathering all the terms, states that even though you clear away sins, you will need at least 10 eons to attain the level of forbearance, second of the 4 levels of the path of preparation. The youthful Manjushri asks, O Bhagavan, if someone under the influence of the sinful companions were to do such a thing as abandon abandon the teachings, how Bhagavan would this person be free from that sin in this lifetime? The Bhagavan replied, Manjushri, if you were to confess your faults 3 times a day for 7 years, you would clear it away. You would clear it away. Subsequent to this, you would attain the level of forbearance in the 10 eons at the least.
배는 단단하게 오지로 당아 개바 배는 개바자 배는 개바자의 배경에 당에 처음에 아는 것이더라. 단단하게 오지서는 니질을 전원 접어타와라로 아니 개바 nga마도 메나 이러와 당에 추봉이 레사소나가 전원 접어타와라 개바장아 파다자 전에 다셔도 계시 샤바 제구도다 맞잖아데 텔레레 와요로 개바 제와이나라 단다 로주를 다셔 로주선에 개바 제바 개바주 개바서발 장을 다셔도.
So if you look at here, now if you are in a position of achieving or attaining the level of forbearance within 1 yuan, in other words, but if you engage in negative deeds, that prevents you from achieving that, level of spiritual realizations, which is to attain the forbearance, the level of forbearance path of preparations. Though you may have engaged in the purification practice, that you have purified your negative deeds that actually prevented all this, occurrence of its result of your result of negative deeds. You are still take 10 more eons. If the duration has gone 10 more eons to achieve the level of forbearance that you would have achieved within this lifetime. In other words, let's take a break here. 2 minutes.
Dada Chenmo. Ah, later Dada. Aye. 아, 제가 당가서 다니도 와서 저기 뭐 어디? 아.
진짜 요는 개발 주서부터
어디? 저부터 좀 되지 않아. 대로 당가서 제가 개발했는데 배대 나한테 아버지 쓰히고면로. 개발 야패도 많지 밖에서 되게 그소서데 이제 개발 진짜 비슷한 시선은 그네나 야채로 이제 저도 마트로 주바도 거기 던지지 바지 크소 개발서 다가 알레도 유지 되던 병고 지금 다 가정한테 던지지로 와. 다 정말 저부터라 로 개발 중국어를 살라서는 다 배티수 제가 되지 말이. 맞아 랑가이 너 정말 저부터서나 가서 가서 장주선 장장을 내야 되는 진짜네. 아니 예손에 제거해서는 가서 계좌 조인 봐. 아니 정말 저부터서나 예손에 제목 거기서 저도 예손 용만 따라. 세네 정말 저부터서나 예손 내가 가려운 게 있는 예손 제거 먹으면 땡기자.
So here we spoke about the 10 eons to achieve this the level of the forbearance in 10 eons. But when you speak about the eons, even within the 1 eon, it is inconceivable duration all the time, the length of the eons. So then speaking about 10 eons, it is inconceivable. We can't really count the years and so forth. So, so now here the level of forbearance, the Bodhisattva was in a level at the as you attain this level of forbearance, then you will not involuntarily take a rebirth within the lower realms as a result of one's accumulation of karma and so forth.
단도 템벌에 전주시사대 아니 주봉지 레지 사송나 년카들이 지도와 주봉지 레상에 가사지를 든지기 바장도도와 아니 나쪽이 네 랑rel의 친해지는 소소만의 계속 가능해 두고 있으나 주봉지 레던 것도 그래. 오늘 양의 정해지나.
So now this it's really speaking about this particular chapter is really speaking about taking a 10 eons of attaining a forbearance within the 10 years, even though you have engaged in the purification practice of one's negative deeds. And that particular negative deeds is really refers to the chubungile, which is the karma, negative karma accumulated with regard to the Dharma.
추봉지에서는 주타 파주상에 아니 추어상에 제가 좀 가서 랭인데 사로로.
So what is really meant by the negative deeds with regard to accumulated in relation to Dharma is differentiating, not only differentiating, but you are having, looking down towards other philosophical tenets, and then different religious tradition, and so forth, particularly within the Buddhist religions.
간주를 세서는 라린디 지주 가르세나 땡바타니 게메도도 비체와시 들어와.
So, because this studying the Lam Rim will really prevent you from engaging in such deeds, because it's really the negative consequence that you will face as a result of engaging in negative deeds with regard to the Dharma. It's explained very detailed in here, so it's a very, very, you know, helpful practice, practice of studying this Lam Rim. Then also, if you look at one of the headings of the Lam Rim, the greatness of allowing you to realize that all the teachings are inconsistent. So this will really prevent you from seeing the teachings given by the Buddha, regardless of the different philosophical tenets, but you will not really see the inconsistent or contradictory among the different philosophical tenets. If you are true practitioners of the Lam Rim, not only that you will not find a fault in the philosophical tenets within the Buddhist tradition, but you will also not find any faults in the philosophical tenets of other religions as well. So as for me, I'm a follower of the Je Tsongkapa and belongs to the Gelug order. And if I look down towards the other religious traditions such as Nyingma and so forth, then I'm not becoming a Lam Rim practitioner. I'm not a true Lam Rim practitioner. I will be, be out of the boundary of practicing the Lam Rim practice. It's very, very important to understand, and there's a great danger for us to have such. So not only having appreciations, respect and devotions within the Buddhist religion, not only within the Tibetan Buddhist traditions, but all religious traditions, you should have appreciation, not diplomatically, but rather from the depth of one's heart, looking at the essence of all these religious traditions, the benefits that are provided by those religious traditions, and have an appreciation towards all the religious traditions. That's His Holiness is always, encourages everyone to have this kind of attitude. So it's every religious practice, the common religious practice is to become a better person, to fulfill the wishes of Creator or God or Three Jewels. It's the same. It's the same goal to become oneself as a better person, to fulfill the wishes of the mighty beings. So let's go through the text again. Second last paragraph for this. Therefore, the complete purification means to completely purify yourself of the arising of unpleasant effects. However, since you greatly extend the time needed to attend such things as knowledge of the path, strive not to tarnish by false from start. So then, the Buddha said that for these reasons, noble beings do not consciously engage in even the subtlest of sins or infractions, even for the sake of their own lives. If it was the case, the purity through confession was similar to faults that have never taken place, then there would be no need to act in this way. This is also evident in this world. Although an injured head, foot and so on may heal, they are different from the ones that never had an injury. It's easy to understand, right? So it says that why the noble beings are not really engaging in negative deeds, even it causes their life. Why they are not engaging in that? But if they engage in negative deeds and make the confession, the practice of purifications, their purification practice will be far more powerful than our practice of purifications. But why they are not really engaging in negative deeds at all is because they see the difference of someone who has not engaged in negative deeds and someone who has engaged in negative deeds and done the purifications. That's the difference between the two. So through striving in the way you should do so, as a collection of the indicated verses. So then, the indicated verse says, a person of sinful conduct, who has committed sins and not gained merits, who has parted from the teachings and attend its opposites, will fear death like a weak boat breaking apart in a great river. So then someone who is always engaged in negative deeds and is engaged in the sinful activities, and such a person will, even during their lifetime, they will have, there's no chance for such a person to have a real happiness, and they will have a great fear at the time of their death. So in such the person who is always, always continuously engaging in the negative acts will not really have a chance to turn themselves toward the virtuous deed. In other words, such a person will become keep a long distance from the engagement of virtuous deed.
거기 수능시 저거 싸매와 인자니 가르쳤는 어려운 중이지로 가르쳤는 대화만 되겠지. 아주 추지 대화지도 유저는 천대양로 bedji 가르쳤는 담에도 용비소는 지요. 그래서 요즘 말해로 선어 되면 sama na jero so 선어 만도 병원이 아니 천대라니 장점이 뭐 용되지.
So without a merit, having a chance to accumulate merits, and such a person, due to the lack of merits, will not really have a real and lasting happiness, and will not really succeed whatever they want to do, something that need to be succeeded, will never be able to accomplish their goals and so forth.
dem지 information bene ro legend kelling chinson ni chikala lesona ta 소소인 대비에 내가 말을 제시 때문에 축하를 집어시는 제거로.
So then someone who is engaged in active deeds all the time, and yet at the same time who believe in law of cause and effect, and such a person, when it's time for a person to die, then have a great fear of having unpleasant consequences or the effects of his or her deeds.
당나서 추천부지노로 다들 추천부대 파가를 태우고 연하로와 계시 치대노를 주대 줘서나 추노를 그에게 가령의 지인 소소 예바도 태우고 소소 전동의 지마도 매와이나 소소를 가라지 해그로.
So it's just like that if you are in the boat, the boat that is breaking apart, and in the middle of a big river, so you will have a really discomfort feeling within you. It is so distracting. The feelings that you have, the agonies, the mental agony as you have, is something that's very inconceivable, because you wanted to, by any means that you have a desire to, be on the shore of the river. Yet at the same time, because of the condition of this boat, you are stuck in the middle of the big rivers.
아니 대이 도셔래다. 스나시시 디바마제라서 담바노지 루지 취시베 되는 나야 치와 지메데 댐비트리 파르도와제서.
So then let's let's read the next verse. A person who has gained merits and has not committed sins, and who has practiced the teachings of the Holy One's system, will never fear death, like a sturdy boat going across the river. Sorry.
되게 단단히 되게 도셔로 거대보도와.
So it is the opposite of the first verse.
그뒤에는 디본게도 제시고 선나사쇼 세대로와 단다가 소리 랑사돈이 도쇼 지상주의 세제쇼 세가 말이 수수기 토만 랭거 배선에 아니 선나사 디본게도 제가 빼면서 계지 뭐.
So in engaging in negative deeds, abandoning abandon the negative deeds and engage in virtuous deeds, but not necessarily right from the beginning that you need to meditate on bodhicitta and wisdom, realizing emptiness and so forth. Rather, right from the beginning, one need to really set one's path that is unmistaken, which allows you to really to engage in positive deeds and abandon the negative deeds and accumulation of merits.
아주 저거랑 제 타송의 저거 타마데나 저와 심한 치카는 문제가 지금 송으로.
So as a practitioner, out of 3 practitioners, the least qualification of the Dharma practitioner must not have fear of death when it comes to death. The least qualification of the Dharma practitioners should not have the fear of death.
다 칠번 전에 아니 로데고 전에 시외지로 칠번 rabde 아니 조항 전에 줄라 전에.
So then the middling, intermediate qualification that is required for the Dharma practitioners at the time of his or her death will, die very comfortably and with no fear, in other words. And then the most qualifications for the advanced qualifications for the practitioners of the Dharma is required at the time of one's death by not only that you have no fear, but the process of dying will be conjoined with a delightful feeling. You have a very experientially having a blissful feeling with that. So this is the advanced qualifications of the practitioner.
야, 내가 추금이다. 추금은 아마도别的 추금을 만들어. 딱 내 자다라 위에 내가 근데 근데 출대 시와 땡기 위에 거다라와. 내가 내가 던져 놓으러 커버 보잖아. 제발 몇 번째 자. 근데 합도 같은 지 태연이 몇 번째 할지도. 되게 때스 추는 양념 영향이나 이게 때스 뇌면도 되거든요.
So in a hospital there are people who is become alive, in order to make such person alive through medication and so forth. But at the same time, such a person is not in a clear conscious. It is just maintaining their breath, cycle of breath, but losing all this consciousness, the clear consciousness and so forth. But at the same time, as soon as the medical device is, dissected from that person, then person will immediately, pass away. And for the practitioner's point of view, it is not really a productive way of sustaining the life of individuals. This is something that we really need to analyze and think about. So there's because if I have to undergo a surgery, and before the surgery, then I will be given anesthetic. So then I will become unconscious with no feelings and so forth. But after the surgery, and at the time goes by, and I will gain my conscious, and recover from the unconsciousness and so forth. But someone who is about to die and relying the sustenance of such individual's life on medical device, and if you right away when you dissect those medical devices form that individual, the person will pass away within a minute. And so therefore, I don't know how the consciousness will be, what kind of condition will the consciousness at that time. So it is something that we really need to think about and be careful about. So because for us, the world situation for beings, particularly of human beings, at the time of one's death, that is the worst situations. And when such a situation occurs, we will look for any kind of helps, any means to really to do something for yourself. But if one is a practitioner of the Dharma, when it comes to the death, you will seek your protection, not just to sustain your life, but to seek the protection from the three jewels.
다다가 치에만 돈을 뺐대 로사 치에 값 키용으로 값 키용데 다 미기를 마소네 아직 따용데 접지 제소나 저선에 레와 차선으로 제용데 다 줄을 떼서 로케션은 슈치고 슈해요 그래.
So if one knows that one is certain to death, or to die right now, and then your hope or your to whom that you rely at that moment, if one is a practitioner of the Dharma, is only the three jewels. Something that really draw your mind towards Dharma.
인투기 개센티잉 다가를 우디 체토가 인소나 아니 내가 된로진로 땡키 버려라. 양코 두자야나 양 미용으로 마도 가제 개센티잉 안에 쳐나 아니 코노 디게 나가 되게 된로로 땡키 버려. 뒤수다 또서 양서바 체토가 말마.
If one is able to maintain virtuous state of mind at the time of one's death, then suddenly such a person will take a rebirth within the high realms, regardless of what kind of karma he or she may have accumulated in his or her previous lifetime and so forth. But at this time, it is because of the intensity of your virtuous motivations at the time of one's death, and the result will be the faster and swifter, so that you will have a positive rebirth in your very next lifetime.
맞어. 자식 감독이 개센 천주지만도 만나러 공부하는 때면서 계정거라.
So, even if one engage in a very minor virtuous conduct or the virtuous deed, it is very important to engage in a virtuous deed on the basis of cultivation of appropriate motivations, the virtuous motivations. So let's do the dedication now.
당화제 되는데 인출이 사비 개와 대체로 어디 손도 사비 개요나 쇼지도 나오네. 돈가 때문에. 저 산지제 때봐. 양거 당화로 전화가 유료 산지제 때마다 도에. 네 도와서 이제는 대지요 도에. 인터뷰이 뭐하죠?
Let's dedicate our virtuous deed of being here today, gathered here for 2 hours and listening to the teachings of the Dharma, and try to collect all the virtues that you have accumulated for 3 times, and by means of collection of all the virtues of the 3 times, the power of the virtues of the 3 times will then become the sustenance and the prolonging of the teachings of the Buddha Dharma in general, and then becoming as a collection of those virtuous deeds, become a cause for gaining oneself at the state of enlightenment for the benefit of all other beings. May all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas may bless upon us to be able to do this.
Dorje Nami Mari Gilon Rowana Nande Gyawe Wampo Dayuji Dema Sunde Sera Kuntuya Jambe Yangye Sewe Jesune Tembe Rimba Kunsan Nangye Nyene Rupe Jana Nye Sho Rangye Chechen Tobe Langye Shudra Tsewe Jambe Tangye Je Goye Yeje Meva Sajene Gyawe Tenpa Yurin Zinjuji Lam Rim Chenmo Majapa Chadon Yamba Jube Shodene Ninje Shenpo Yira Jubaye Pende Pede Sawa Shiva Sho Seje Yore Nejo Chumele Ledro Chancho Namye Rempe Jan Tande Manje Yela Gare Yahweh Sema Rindu Jonyoji Lam San Drupe Kyujen Druche Ching Kyujen Seje Milan Mimikun Sera Kundu Yahweh Nyambagi Nanda Landan Jawa Manjushi Kanse Jemba Chola Chuchu Sujin Dula Sumba De Yese Tulian Namki Tatu Trushi Tashi Yaso Chokun Changjushi Jetsun Lame Kutse Ratenji Namka Chime Chochu Jepadam Lozan Jembe June Sasunji Joye Minse Tatu Nengyushi Gangri Rawe Kore Shinkandu Rentan Dewa Malu Jungwene Shenle Sewan Tenzin Yasoyi Shape Site Badu Tengyushi Wawo Jita Chenpada Guntu Sambo Deyang Dejinte Deta Kunji Jesu Dalo Shi Gewa Deta Tanche Ratu Mo Yusung Shepe Yawa